Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Oriane, and this channel is meant to be a guide to your professional journey, to your career in the fields of accounting, finance, navigating your career through the corporate world. So today's video is going to be about the audit exam for the CPA exam. We're gonna talk all about audit, so if that's something that you're interested in, I hope that this video is gonna be helpful. So without further ado, let's get started. I didn't wait for my exam results before I started studying for a new exam. So for example, when I took FAR, I didn't wait for my FAR result to start studying for reg. When I took reg, I didn't wait for my exam results to start studying for audit. And for some people, it might feel like it's a leap of faith, and that I assumed that I would pass, but not really. If for some reason I had failed reg, I would have just taken it again right now. Like for example, I would have stopped studying for audit and retake reg. So to me, it didn't make sense to wait for an exam result before I study for the next part. So this video today is gonna be very short, or at least shorter than my two previous videos on FAR and regulation. So check those out if you haven't yet. I go into a lot of details on my study process and how I study on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. I will also link my study guide, my CPA study tracker that I've used, that will help you track your study day by day, hour by hour, like morning, lunch, evening, what you need to study and whatnot. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on this video today, so check out my previous videos if you haven't yet. So today we're just gonna be focused on audit, like the actual audit exam itself, and my experience with it, the things that I recommend studying and things like that. So the audit exam, the way I remember the audit exam, it was very dry. It was a dry subject, but it wasn't difficult. It wasn't as difficult as FAR and regulation for me, because FAR and regulation were a lot of calculations. Audit was more reading, so you had to read. You have to be very focused on your reading, because one word in one sentence completely change your opinion on the financial statement. So it's very detailed. Like you need to take a lot of good detailed notes as to how to identify certain things that might modify your opinion on a certain financial statement. So audit is all about the knowledge of the auditing process, but also the preparation, compilation, and review engagements and other non-attestation services. So the CPA exam will test you on the following: ethics and professional responsibility, assessing risk and developing a planned response based on whatever risk you would identify, performing further procedures and obtaining evidence, and then forming conclusions and reporting, right? So it's all of the different steps of an audit. So first, planning, risk assessment, scoping, things like that. Then what we call field work is going into like the audit, interviewing, collecting evidence, performing audit procedures in order to form your own opinion. And then, the conclusion. So you've looked at everything, you've talked to so many people, what's your opinion on the financial statements, and things like that. So it takes you step by step as to how an audit would go. And as I said before, it's not really, like it doesn't get into the technicality of how you calculate this and that and how you prove this and that. It's more, my experience at least was more qualitative. It was more with a certain evidence that you have. What does the evidence tell you? There might be some calculations here and there with sampling methodology and things like that, but it's not a calculation exam. It's a, here is what you have, what's your opinion on it, what does that mean, what's the next step that you need to take. And a trick, at least audit was tricky for me because as an auditor, I used to bring my own experience into the exam instead of just following what the book would say. So for example, if I have evidence A and evidence B, as an auditor, I will try to relate it to my engagement, and I would be like, oh, if I have A and B, then I would probably do C and D, right? But the book does not want you to do that. The book wants you to, take a textbook approach that might be different from what you would do in the field. So it was tricky for me because I used to bring my own experience into the exam instead of just answering the questions the way the book wants you to. So if you're an auditor, that's something that you need to think about as you go into the auditing exam, is just use the textbook approach. Don't use your experience. Do what the textbook tells you to. So in the audit exam, you have 72 multiple choice questions. So you have first testly, you have 36 questions, then you have 36 questions, then you have 2 task-based simulations, then you have a break, and then you have 3 task-based simulation and 3 task-based simulations. So total you have 72 multiple choice questions and then 8 task-based simulations, and everything has to be done, of course, in 4 hours. So my study plan for audit, again, my study plan for my entire CPA exam journey was the same. I didn't try to reinvent the wheels. It was very, very standard. It was 1 chapter or 1 module per week. Check out my previous videos if you want to kind of understand more, because I go into like a lot of details, and also download again my study tracker to see day by day what my study plan or my study timeline was. But overall in Becker, audit has 6 modules. So I would do 1 module every week, and each module has like 5 or 6 different chapters. And then, so every week, one module, and then I would give myself 1 or 2 weeks of review at the end. So week 1 to week 6 would be all about learning the material, and then week 7 and 8 would be all review, and then I'll take my exam. So that's why. So it took me 6 weeks to study for it. You can use more time, you can use less time based on your schedule. If you're married, if you're a mom, if you're a dad, there are so many different factors that might modify or that might have an impact on your schedule. But again, I've seen people saying that they've studied audit in 15 days, or if you're a full-time student and studying is all you do all day long, then it will take you less time. I would say that if you're in a crunch for time, skip the lectures. Again, I said that in my regulation video. The lectures in Becker are very long, and again, audit is not something where you need someone to tell you like, oh, underline this, oh, like write this word and blah blah blah. Audit is more just sit down, open the textbook, read it, and take notes. So you don't necessarily need to watch all of the Becker lectures, because those take a long time. So if you cut that, and if you cut the simulations as well, that would save you some time. So my personal schedule was Monday, Tuesday, I would do all of the lectures. So let's say the first module in Becker, for example, had 6 chapters. So week 1, Monday, Tuesday, I'll do all of the lectures of the 6 chapters. So that's Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday, I will do all of the skills practice and multiple choice questions for all of the 6 chapters in that 1 module. And then Friday, I will do an overall review, look at my strengths, my weaknesses, and all of that. Saturday, I will do all of the simulations and try to understand what was going on. Again, I'll do a review of all of my weaknesses, all of the questions that I failed, things that didn't make sense. And then on Sunday, I will do a progress test of, again, all of the questions, and I'll do additional multiple choice questions. So that was my plan every single week until I get to week 6. And again, as I would go through the different weeks, I would make sure that on that Sunday where I do progress test of everything, I include all of the previous chapters. So for example, let's say that this week is week 3. Week 3 on Sunday, I would have 50 questions of all of the chapters from week 1 until week 3. So reviewing again is very important. You want to review because you don't want to forget everything that you've learned. And it's really easy, especially with audit. I feel like because it's again very dry and you read, sometimes, honestly to me, sometimes things didn't make sense. I just had to memorize it. And again, because I was an auditor, my common sense would make me choose the wrong answer based on my personal experience and, the way sometimes in real life, you just take a different approach. So sometimes audit, you really just have to memorize. Things don't make sense. Don't think that you would go to the exam and for some way, somehow your common sense is gonna pick up. It's not gonna pick up. You have to memorize it. And in order to memorize and make sure that everything is fresh in your head, you want to review everything. Every single week, you want to make sure that you review some of the previous chapters that you have already learned. The final 2 weeks of review, I would do mock exams. So Becker has 3 mock exams that you can take, and mock exams are just exactly like the exam. It's the exam format. It's 4 hours, and it takes you through, what to expect. And usually my goal for the mock exams was 75. So again, the CPA exam, you need to score a 75 in order to pass. So my goal was a 75 on the mock exams, and that's how I would feel comfortable that I'm good and I'm ready to go. Becker mock exams are harder than what you should expect your real exam to be. So again, it's not a clear science. But I've seen it on one forum that determine your score on the mock exams, like what you should expect your real score to be. It's just telling you that the mock exams are harder than the real exam. So as long as you have between a 75 and an 80 on the mock exams, like you should feel pretty comfortable and pretty confident that you will pass the exam. And then I think finally, like one of the last pieces again that I always kind of give you are my weaknesses for the audit exam. So according to Becker, so the first chapter module A1, some of my weaknesses were the reports of the comparative financial statements with different opinions or different services performed. Sometimes when you're doing a preparation versus a review versus an actual audit, the way the opinion changes based on different factors, that was confusing for me. A2, I had issues with quality control, engagement acceptance, planning, and internal control tick marks. I had issues with ITGC versus ITAC. So ITGC is IT General Controls, and ITACs are IT Application Controls. So the differences between the two just didn't make a lot of sense to me when I was studying for it. But again, as you review, things start making more sense. A2, again, I had a lot of issues with the use of IT. So test data, integrated data facilities and things like that. It was just like, it wasn't things that I was used to, I guess, as an auditor. So I was like, what is that? A3, I had issues with risk assessments, evidence sampling. So they had like 2 types of sampling methodologies that they want you to know. So attribute sampling versus variable sampling. And I guess in my audit role, I was more used to attribute-based kind of sampling methodologies. So it was hard for me to understand what was really the difference between the two. Substantive procedures were a little difficult. Again, I'm an internal auditor. I'm not an external auditor. So we don't do substantive procedures. So that was new to me, and it was a little more difficult to wrap my head around it and remove my internal auditor had, I think that was one of the hardest part for me with audit, is that I had to remove my experience from it. A4, I had issues with segregation of duties, kind of questions and problems. And that's it. A5, I didn't have any issues, and A6, I didn't have any issues. So overall, audit is not that hard. And last but not least, I'll give you my audit score. So for audit, I scored 89. So almost 90, but I scored an 89. Go back to my, go watch my previous videos for FAR if you want to know my FAR score, and regulation if you want to know my regulation score. But audit, I got an 89. That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoy it. Follow me on Instagram if you don't already. Send me DMs if you have any questions. Leave me questions in the comment section below. Send me an email. I'll be happy to help you guys with, you know, any kind of questions that you have, or any comments or any concerns. I'm here. Please like this video, subscribe if you're not already, and share it. Share the video with anybody that you think this might be useful to. But yeah, that's it for today. I'll see you in my next video. We will be talking about BEC. And yeah, stay tuned for that. Stay safe and take care. I'll see you next time. Bye.